Hi, my name is Talia, and I'm a sophomore at UC Berkeley.
Awesome. What's your major?
I'm studying molecular and cell biology.
Cool. So what's one thing that you're very confident about when it comes to climate change, and what's one thing that you maybe wish you knew more about?
Um, I'm confident. Okay. I wish I knew more about kind of like the long term strategies of how like our government and society are gonna tackle topics like climate change.
Mm-hmm.
And I am confident um, that there is like movement in the right direction to addressing climate change.
Awesome. Okay. And then my second question is, what are little things that you do in your day-to-day life to help combat climate change and pollution?
Yeah, so I used to buy plastic cups for my like
Mm-hmm.
coffee and matcha every day, but I
Mm-hmm.
stopped using that and I started using mason jars.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also don't use straws anymore. I
Wait,
try
that's
not
awesome.
to.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
So, this is Laura from 350 Bay Area, and I'll be interviewing her today about some of the work that she does relating to just climate justice and environmental justice. And yeah, I'll dive into the questions. Do you want to introduce yourself before that?
Yeah, Laura Niche. I'm the executive director of 350 Bay Area and 350 Bay Area Action, our sister organization that is able to do a lot more lobbying.
That's awesome. Okay, thank you so much for meeting with me. And yeah, my first question is just for listeners who are unfamiliar, how would you introduce 350 Bay Area and the mission that drives you guys?
Yeah, we are a grassroots lobbying group, and we are trying to reduce emissions that cause not just climate change, but also very health harming impacts on our neighbors and our communities. I think one of the things that never ceases to amaze me is how thoroughly the fossil fuel industry has really just covered up the fact that millions of people die every year from the impacts of setting stuff on fire. And it's really that simple. So the impacts are broad reaching. And it's, obviously death is the worst outcome, but throughout people's lives of breathing in and being otherwise exposed to petrochemicals causes them real health impacts that can really have devastating impacts on their lives.
Absolutely. I saw on your website, one of your goals in terms of reducing fossil fuel emissions was, I believe, transitioning from cars by like 2036 or something along those lines. I could be misremembering it, but I was wondering if you could like delve more into that.
Yeah, we were able to get to help get past new rules for transitioning away from fossil fuel cars pretty quickly in California. And so that there'll be no new car sales after a date certain. And there's so many of these target dates that I can't remember. I don't think it's 2036, might be 2040, but I am not
Okay.
positive. So we'll see if that stands the test of time. But there's no doubt that we are really trying very hard to transition away from internal combustion engine cars to electric vehicles. And it's such a lovely vision to have in your head. So we have a lot of doom and gloom that we are
Yeah.
fighting with. It's yeah, I mean, it's really a very serious situation. But on the other hand, when you take a second to sort of ponder, like, what is this going to look like? It's going to be so much quieter. They don't make no noise, of course.
Mhm.
They actually add a little bit of artificial noise, so it sounds like spaceships are landing everywhere. But think about that scene that everybody loves that come home from Europe and they're like, oh, I was sitting in Paris and we were in a sidewalk cafe. And
Yeah.
imagine that scene with no fumes, and not so much
Uh-huh.
road noise. So I think it's good to keep in mind that we're not, sacrificing ourselves in a lot of different ways in order to make sure that we have a livable planet.
That's very true. That's awesome. Obviously in the transition to getting rid of fossil fuel emission vehicles, um, I think there's also going to be probably a transition towards more like public transportation option or just like any type of other transportation, like walking and biking. Um, how can we transition towards other options in ways that are accessible and equitable?
That's really at the heart of the kind of vision that we are trying to get to
Hmm.
in general, the kind of communities that we can envision coming out of this.
Hmm.
So that is, so when we talk about reducing emissions from transportation, it's electrifying the remaining vehicles that we have, including public transit, is
Hmm.
getting people out of one car, and about creating dense communities where people can get around without maybe even any motorized vehicle or like an electric bike or electric scooter or something like that. And sometimes I think that our biggest challenge there is connecting people back to that vision they have. So when people reminisce about, for example, being on a college campus, they're like, oh, everything's within reach. It's so community building. You bump into your friends. Like
Hmm.
you're in a dense community where there's this vibrancy that people really yearn to have, not just on college
Hmm.
campuses, but in urban centers where there really is this kind of walkability
Yeah,
or accessibility issue.
yeah,
So we have a huge, in the United States, it's been decades and decades of propaganda linking the car culture to, freedom and
yeah,
liberty and eagles and
uh-huh,
apple pie. And, it's our right to sit in the car, one
yeah,
person at a time, eating French fries, which I don't hate. I mean,
yeah,
I love French fries. I love eating
uh-huh,
French fries. So, anyway, so we've got a real cultural block there.
hmm,
And then, of course, you've heard about the not my backyard. In California, housing prices are really incredibly expensive, as you know. And
yeah,
people view that as that they don't want anything to diminish the value of their property. So they really fight hard, even in Berkeley, against real density.
hmm,
So we are having to overcome not just the oligarchs, and I like to call them the oligarchs that are doing everything for
yeah,
profit, but we're also trying to overcome like this really deeply embedded culture. And I mean, that's not all up to us. Like 350 Bay Area cannot, single-handedly create a culture change, but we can work with people to make sure that there's this other really super attractive vision. And I think another part of it that hopefully appeals to everybody, but doesn't reach everybody, is the real justice issues in access to mobility that's
uh-huh,
affordable and reliable and safe. So, making public transit really work for people who live in areas that tend to be a little bit um, underserved for all sorts of
uh-huh,
various reasons. So over time, we've sliced, especially the lower income neighborhoods, with these big, you know, 6-lane streets and
absolutely.
yeah, and freeways and things like that. And people can end up being terribly stranded so that they can't safely or easily, or even sometimes not even at all, just get from where they are to a nearby transit stop or something like that. Or if
Hmm.
they get to the transit stop, it's it's not well served, so they really just don't know when the bus is coming to
Yeah,
get them.
yeah,
So, and you hear a couple of these stories, and you just have to drag the barbs out of your heart. It's like, why are we making this impossible for people? So,
hmm,
we could have an entire organization just focused on all these transportation issues, but we also focus on, you know, switching to clean energy systems. It's
hmm,
affordable, and clean power. And then, of course,
hmm,
if you get all those things right, you have clean air. So that kind of captures the
yeah,
main plank we're working on.
yeah, absolutely. I think there were a couple of things that stood out to me, but like the biggest one was when you were talking about how like having um I guess like denser urban centers with like very good public transportation builds community. And I definitely felt that because I studied abroad in Madrid last semester and they have a wonderful public transportation system. And genuinely, it was so wonderful being able to just like take the train and like go to the park and go and like visit the museums and everything was so accessible and like I could visit my friends and who are also studying abroad but in a different part of the city like so easily and like the transportation system was incredible. Like their metro was so clean, it was so safe, I think that just really like I loved living in Madrid. So I just and I think that was probably a huge reason why it just like felt so community centered. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
It should all be like that.
okay. Well, thank you so much. My transitioning on to the next question. Um, your website, 350 Bay Area, describes the climate crisis as being inseparable from racial, economic, and environmental injustices. How does this justice-centered perspective shape your priorities?
I think we've touched on it a little bit, and I'm going to answer it a little bit sideways. So
Hmm.
we are we don't speak for frontline communities because
Hmm.
we aren't made up of frontline communities for the most part. So
Hmm.
um, so what we do, we recognize we know what to do for this. Like everybody knows
Yeah.
what needs to happen, right?
Hmm.
So it's just a matter of like chipping away and making these things happen. But when somebody puts together a proposal, or there's like a bill, or there's something that's getting passed at the local level, or there's a
Hmm.
policy being made or enforced in one of the agencies, in one of the many,
Hmm.
many alphabet agencies in
Hmm.
California,
Yeah.
what we do is we make sure that there aren't any, what people sort of refer to as sacrifice zones. So we work with a lot of environmental justice groups to make sure that, basically we aren't wrong, like
Hmm.
that the policies that are being proposed really do prioritize communities that have been sort of at the bottom of the heap the whole time, because it's
Hmm.
just so frustrating. Can I give you an example of the kind of nonsense that is infuriating, like just absolutely makes your
Absolutely.
head go
Yeah.
up? So there was a pretty good bill that had to do with streamlining the Environmental Quality Act rules, which have gotten very complex and laborious, no doubt.
Yeah.
So streamlining that for basically to promote density in areas that were pretty much already developed, to make
Hmm.
it easier to make cities even denser than they are, which is great. Or relatively dense suburban areas, things like that, where it's already been developed. Like you're basically talking
Hmm.
about not ripping up the neighborhood park. So
Yeah.
things like that. And to make it easier to build housing and daycare centers and a couple of other things, we're like, okay, that's reasonable. And one of the things, this makes me so mad, I don't even,
Hmm.
but they put in there the same kinds of streamlining for advanced manufacturing in dense neighborhoods. Like what the ever lucky loving heck. And sometimes I
Oh my
think
gosh.
I swear like a sailor, so I'm trying to be nice. When I'm pissed
Yeah.
off, I just get
Uh-huh.
really mad. But it's like, what is this on purpose, just to like really tear up the
Yeah.
environmental justice communities? And I think the answer is yes, because I've gotten very cynical about it. But it was like,
Uh-huh.
what is that? So if you've sat
Uh-huh.
in a room talking to people where there's small point sources of pollution that the air
Yeah.
district doesn't have the time or whatever to like, lay on, and people are like, we are sick. We are having, the cancer rates in our neighborhood are crazy. We
Yeah.
can't open windows when it's hot outside because the
Uh-huh.
fumes are too noxious, et
Uh-huh.
cetera, et cetera. And they're like begging for relief. And
Hmm.
then they put this little stupid, horrible little poison pill in a bill. So we go against the bill because
Uh-huh.
that's what it means to keep justice at the center, man. So
Uh-huh.
we go against the bill. And then a bunch of people are like shaking their fingers at us, going, "You're behind history. You're doing the wrong thing. You are, yes, that
Wait,
face is
how do they
my
even
face all of the
justify
time."
that? Wait, what do they even mean by like call I feel like is that not evident that like you guys are on the right
Right?
track?
Right?
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the thing that blows your mind doing
Uh-huh.
this work. It's like all this stuff is so completely obvious and evident and like common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's there's a phrase for it which is not meant to be a nice compliment. It's called
Yeah.
carbon fundamentalist, and it's like,
Uh-huh.
well, the ends justify the means. Like concentrating the impact on the already impacted is worth it if we can reduce emissions. And it's like, good Lord, people, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. That
Yeah,
advanced
yeah.
manufacturing thing, that was just some kind of gimme to somebody to like, I don't even know.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it
Wow.
is really, yes, yeah,
Did
it's
it
ingrained.
end up passing or
Yes, yeah,
no,
it
that's
yeah.
horrible. What
In
neighbor, like what area was this located in?
California,
Oh God. Yeah.
big neighborhood there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was worse because if you really want to go a little bit
Uh-huh.
further, this bill got so much pushback during the regular session that at the
Uh-huh.
very end, very like last week of the set, some crazy like there was not very much time left. They took a bill that had existed that was kind of lumbering along, and they took out all
Uh-huh.
the verbiage in that bill, slapped in this version, this bill, which had been a different bill that they couldn't get passed in regular session by
Uh-huh.
regular order, and then they jammed it through. It's called a gut and amend. And now, procedurally, you use
Whoa.
a gut, and it's a tool. It
Hmm.
doesn't bother me that much when it, I mean, I still think it's nonsense, but if they use it early in the session and it can go through the committee process and get a
Uh-huh.
good vetting and you have a
Uh-huh.
chance to get on it,
Uh-huh.
but this was just not democratic. Like this
Yeah,
was like
absolutely not.
if this is us in California, like
Uh-huh.
and we're claiming to be all kinds of good. So we're
Hmm.
still working to be clear, we're still working to get that
Yeah.
pride out, that
Yeah.
advanced manufacturing gimme. I would love some investigative reporter to figure
Yeah.
out where
Yeah.
that came from.
Do you
So
mind what's the name of the bill called? I'm gonna write it down. Or
oh,
if you remember.
gosh, you keep asking me these super specific things. We
Wait,
cover like
sorry, never mind.
30. I'll send it
Um
to you.
okay,
I'll
wait,
send
yeah,
you the
no
name
worries
to it.
if not.
Sorry.
Thank you though.
Well, because it's
No
actually
worries.
two different numbers and
Uh-huh. Oh, it's okay. Well, thank you. I
it
had
did
no
did
idea
make me
that
mad.
this even happened. Like I didn't read about this at all. Like that's absolutely insane. Um, Going off of like policy and stuff, I was wondering just under this current administration, like has there been like significantly more difficulty in like lobbying and like trying to get like climate policies passed and things related to that in like this current political climate?
Yeah, yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do any federal level. Well,
Oh.
we do.
Hmm.
We did do some federal level work where we work in really nationwide coalitions
Hmm.
to lend our voice and
Hmm.
get some of our people to contact their Congress people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we still meet with our Congress people, but we're not putting that much effort in because there's really not a lot we can do on the federal level right now.
Yeah.
What our plan or strategy is that um, as we build this movement, we're
Uh-huh.
giving people the tools and the experience of
Uh-huh.
contacting their local officials and taking
Uh-huh.
action one way or another,
Yeah.
and protesting and such like.
Uh-huh.
So once somebody's gone through that process and like picked up the phone or sent an email or wrote a letter to the editor,
Uh-huh.
they know that it's not that hard to do any of those things. So they are more
Uh-huh.
likely to do those things.
Uh-huh.
So unfortunately, in California, I don't, I mean, oh, we did we did initially direct our federal work towards um, insisting that our congresspeople and senators actually do something about it, like
Yeah.
whatever it took,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
So, but if you say, hey, Congressperson Huffman, will you please, take this progressive position? They're like, yeah.
Hmm.
That's like, it's my bill,
Uh-huh.
they're already progressive. So we do have some of that, but the federal situation is a disaster, no doubt
Uh-huh.
about it. We
Yeah.
are teetering on the edge of fascism, and if it's up to us now,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, if we let them get away with it, so we're starting this whole conversational series at the beginning of the year. It's like, what really does the resistance look like?
Hmm.
What does it mean to be radical? Like, how did
Hmm.
that word get totally co-opted
Hmm.
in a way that, because radical has to do with getting to the root of the matter.
Hmm.
and then taking action to change the systems that have caused the problem in the first place. So boy, is that
Hmm.
what we do, you know?
Yeah.
So if we don't embrace that, you know, phrase of being radical, then, you know, what are we doing here? So, I mean, and that doesn't mean you have to throw things or punch things or anything, you
Yeah.
know, you just have to
Uh-huh.
be out there, you know, making your voices heard and insisting that we, you know, maintain our democracy. And since
Hmm.
everything's just been broken with a big fat bat, like now is our
Hmm.
chance to stand firm. You know, you see that establishment Democrats, oh my God,
Hmm.
really become radical. But you see the established Democrats going, oh, you know, we just need to be
Yeah.
polite. And they will be so
Oh,
embarrassed
yeah.
that right
Yeah.
thing. And it's like, no, that's not
I
going to
mean,
happen.
I feel like Zohran Mamdani's campaign in New York, it was like perfect proof that you don't have to like back down and be polite and like be right in the center and like say like he's exactly who he says he's when he met with Trump, he said exactly all of the things that he stood for. He stood on that. And it like clearly like people love him. And it's I feel like that just goes to show that we've kind of been a little too polite in everything. Like we
Yeah.
to have
Well,
more. Yeah.
yeah. And then the center has been dragged so far right that, you
I
know, if we
know.
don't,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, we're not,
It's
we
crazy.
got this,
Yeah.
the establishment Democrats have this wrong and they're all, you know, even older than I am. So they, they just need to sit down and bring up the next generation.
Not old. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, 350 Bay Area, a huge part of what you guys do is just like rallying the youth, and you have a lot of youth leadership. And I was wondering if you could like give me some insight on how like your youth leadership and just like the youth in general are shaping the climate movement right now.
You know what? I think that the younger people who are willing to stand up, they do have that fearlessness and clear voice about them.
Hmm.
And they have such credibility is not quite the right word, but this is your future.
Hmm.
You know, you're literally fighting for your lives.
Hmm.
So I think that there's a clear bell of saliency that comes from young people. Okay, so
Hmm.
that's the dire side. But the good side, well, there's so much more energy and creativity and just a sense of liveliness and a different perspective that is
Uh-huh.
lovely to keep, you know, in the movement. But so that's like what young people are bringing to us. But we throughout the pandemic, um, you know, Zoe and that team were very intentional about giving people a place to come in community and support. So
Hmm.
if you feel like you're facing, you know, all these crazy, scary things by yourself, it's not a good place to be.
Hmm.
So, you know, we used to have a lot bigger arts group, you know, things
Hmm.
like that, and that's kind of rebuilding. These things tend to ebb and flow because young people they go away, they go to college, and you know, and they go get a job in New
Uh,
Zealand or whatever.
yeah.
So, yeah, so it ebbs and flows, but we're very excited about that team and how it is staying together as a community. And
Hmm.
then the mobilizing team is led by young people, but in
Hmm.
terms of like doing the work, it's totally cross-generational, and that is
Absolutely. Yeah.
also intentional. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then going off of that again, this podcast, um, I'm making like a series for my class project, and it's basically it's for the CRS major, which is Conservation Resource Studies at Berkeley, and it's basically providing students with like resources about climate change, environmental justice, things related to that. And I was wondering, for students who want to get involved but don't really know where to start, does 350 Bay Area offer like any entry points?
Yeah, we have our monthly meeting. I think
Hmm.
it's the fourth Tuesday of the month.
Hmm.
She's checking because you can tell that like specifics. Um, yeah, it's the fourth Tuesday of the month, and that's a
Uh-huh.
fun meeting. It's kind of a good intake point. You can sort of get what it is we're doing it that
Uh-huh.
we're working on, and then at those meetings, we share a little bit of information about a topic, but not
Yeah.
a 20 to 40-minute lecture. And then people can actually take action in the meeting. So
Hmm.
they can do something in the meeting and they can do it together and they can share, you know, what worked or what didn't. So it kind of brings home the fact that contacting somebody who is paid to represent you is pretty easy. Or writing a letter to the editors. You can
Hmm.
dash one of those puppies off in like 3 minutes. You have
Yeah.
the talking points. But it's
Uh-huh.
also some of these, you were talking about how you got a sense of how that transportation issue is like a big ball of knotty yarn. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, so it gives you a way, small bite entry points. And
Uh-huh.
then you can figure out where your affinities suit for the different
Yeah.
kinds of things you work on. And that's why we have all
Uh-huh.
these opportunities for leadership. So the most important thing about our organization is we have a teeny tiny staff and we have
Uh-huh.
over 60, that's 60 volunteer
Uh-huh.
leaders that are out there
Oh,
doing the
wow.
organizing and
Yeah.
providing the tools and working on this
Yeah.
and that. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And you said fourth Tuesday of every month or second Tuesday of every month?
I think
Um,
it's the fourth Tuesday.
fourth Tuesday.
Zoe
Okay.
knows. You have her, she'll tell you.
Yeah, okay. I'll add all of that in the later part. And since we're hitting like the 25-minute mark, I was wondering if there's anything else that you'd like listeners to understand about your work or environmental justice in general, and just like any closing remarks.
Yeah. I really want to underline
Mm-hmm.
the critical importance of clean air for
Mm-hmm.
health. And clean water is another issue. It's not ours. Of course, we want clean water, but clean air is really important. And it's so underemphasized in this
Mm-hmm.
country. So, if your audience wants to just like grab everybody by the collar and say, clean air is really
Yeah.
important, we have to stop burning stuff.
Uh-huh.
But we have another program that really focuses on clean indoor air. So in
Uh-huh.
California, the climate has changed, so it's much hotter, has much hotter
Uh-huh.
points, right? So we also work on a clean indoor air project
Mm-hmm.
where we provide air purifiers, and we're working on policies to get
Mm-hmm.
portable air conditioners that also have provide heat into
Mm-hmm.
people's homes. And we have had some spectacular success in that area, getting a statewide, very pretty well funded program passed. So
Yeah.
stay tuned for that. That is
That's
a that is
awesome.
that's
Yeah.
what Joe Biden would call a big deal. Expletive deleted.
Yeah.
So,
Uh-huh.
anyway, um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have a really great community of people
Mm-hmm.
working really, really hard and getting
Mm-hmm.
these policies passed. And it's
Mm-hmm.
hard, but it's also can be very fun. So
Yeah, I saw on the website again, uh one of the things that you guys were doing was like getting methane gas out of buildings. Is that like related to like the air purifiers? Like
no,
or
that's just
oh.
electrifying,
Oh, okay.
cooking,
Okay.
water heating, and
Uh-huh.
furnaces.
Okay. Oh, that makes
Yeah.
more sense. I thought in my mind for some reason I was like just visualizing like clouds of like cow farts in
Clouds of
people's like
methane.
homes. Yeah.
Ideally
Um
not. Yeah, I mean, all
yeah.
of these things leak, but yeah, like
Yeah.
if you have a gas range, it slowly leaks a little bit, but it's not, if it leaks a lot, you know it because the additive that makes it smell bad. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we got to stop burning stuff. It's really just that simple.
That's what it comes down to, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. I feel like I learned a lot and I really, really appreciate like how well you've explained everything in like a down to earth way. So thank you so much.
It was such a
Um,
joy to meet you.
it was
I
really great meeting you too. And then I'll definitely tune into the monthly meetings. I feel like that's probably an awesome way to like try and get more involved with what you guys do because you guys do amazing work.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. It's a good group. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Talk to you
Nice to
maybe
meet
again if
you.
you have questions. All right. Bye.
Bye, Laura. Thank you.